That's the situation in Ekurhuleni. Now let's go back to the situation in those municipalities in Mpumalanga and speak now to an inspector for the Green Scorpions, Maanda, Alidzulwi. Maanda, good afternoon to you, sir, and thank you for your time. You've been dealing with councils and people who've been polluting the riverways in Mpumalanga. How big are the problems that you're dealing with there? What are you seeing?
First and foremost, thank you very much, Stephen, and good afternoon to your viewers. The situation is dire, to say the least, simply because of the colleagues on the local government side of things. There seems to be a bit of a disconnect between maybe the environmental side of things and the people who are running the show. Because of, I would say that because of instances where we would engage from an administrative enforcement process wherein we will issue notices to the local governments to try and engage, having had the outcry from the communities and the complaints that would come through from different sources in terms of the pollution that is happening in their areas, the water courses that are being polluted on a daily basis, your manholes that are dysfunctional or overflowing on a daily basis, and obviously the wastewater treatment plants and works that are non-functional or that are not operational as they should operate, I would think 24/7. That's the norm now, and communities have had to now live with that scourge.
I mean, the Lekwa story is quite famous in a way. There's a big chicken producer there, and it eventually, you know, after trying to get the Lekwa municipality to provide services, this was before the last local government elections, it had to get a truck to get water from a river, simply because the municipality couldn't provide water. Now, the same municipality was fined. I think you were probably involved, your agency was, in making sure they were fined for pumping raw sewage into the Vaal River. Is the municipality still doing that? I mean, they got fined, they were told they mustn't do it. Has anything changed there?
Stephen, I would like to mention in two folds. We were opportuned to conduct a follow-up site investigation. I believe it was the 5th of June, 2024. After obviously the court had ordered them to pay 70 million, which 70 million was actually directed to the actual work that needed to be done in terms of what was lacking in the infrastructure, the network that has to deal with wastewater treatment. But now the situation becomes dire when you now talk to the judgment itself and the court order itself, because there are certain conditions that were articulated in the judgment. We feel we were blindsided a bit because of none in terms of the reporting mechanisms that were introduced in the court order has been fulfilled. I'll give you an example of a situation where they were ordered to submit a rehabilitation plan. That was supposed to have happened within 3 months of the judgment, but that hasn't happened. We engaged with the legal services, the legal services under Lekwa. The manager was very responsive and he wanted to assist, but the problem is that he cannot do it without the technical services, or could not do it without the technical services. So that becomes a challenge when now we have to re-engage and even consider going back for contempt of court. But I would also say this. We have observed a lot of changes in terms of things that have been done up until now. We're talking between the time of the finalization of the case and the current, the status quo. There were a lot of positives that we observed on site. We did even articulate this to the guys that we were with on site from the Lekwa local municipality side of things, to say the problem now becomes we cannot really gauge and measure that success and the positive outcome in terms of the refurbishment and the upgrades that are there. But during the boots on the ground process and exercise, we could actually say, as a matter of fact, that there was a lot that's being done. One of the outstanding elements was the landfill site. everything that was actually articulated in the court order was done. The new fence, the compacting and everything else that would have been a foundation for a landfill site was done. But now we're still very much lacking in terms of the aspect that talks to the reporting, because we're not receiving any reports. And that on its own would then leave us with no option but to go back to court for a contempt of court. But hopefully they will be able to engage, because we're extremely frustrated with that element in terms of the report not being submitted, the reports being not submitted, and the rehabilitation plan for all the affected areas. I believe I answered.
Maanda, you did, and a very comprehensive answer. Thank you. I mean, if it were me and I broke a court order, I would probably go to jail. So I don't know what happens when a council does this. Do you think that the Vaal River can recover from everything that's happened to it when it's had so much raw sewage pumped into it for such a long time? I mean, you're talking about a long process, and I'm sorry to say this, but other councils may also be doing the same thing. So, I mean, as a member of the Green Scorpions, you still have a huge amount of work to do.
Stephen, I couldn't have said it better myself. We still have a long way to go. We still have a mountain to climb when it comes to this aspect of our life and the process of service delivery. When it comes to the amount of work that has been done, it's nothing compared to what we still need to do. I will say this for a fact. We have dealt with Lekwa. Lekwa was convicted. And recently, a few months back, we had a conviction against Governmeki local municipality, where they were actually fined 200 million, which 200 million is going to be invested back into the infrastructure, which is something they ought to have done in the first place. Now, the question pertaining to the Vaal River, it's a very sour tale to tell, because nature is very resilient. But I think we are compromising it to a point where now we will end up with beautiful rivers that cannot be of no use to any one of us. We cannot even guarantee the food security due to the scourge. So as I sit here and talk to you about the Vaal River, there was an aspect of this whole process that really got on my last nerve. There was a time where there was the Vaal River broke banks. So which means it was flooding. So it flooded all the sewer pumps alongside the river. That was an emergency that needed to have been attended to immediately. But funny enough, when we went for a site investigation, we were told that there was a tender that was out for that particular emergency. The question was, how do you then treat an emergency in the normal course of events in a form of a tender? That at that point in time, the tender was still open. It was only, I think, closing on the 31st of March or April. But that was said to be an emergency, and it was an emergency because if you're not pumping to the wastewater treatment plant, it means you're pumping straight into the receiving environment. In this case, it's the Vaal River, and you've got a lot of people in that particular space who are fishing commercially and obviously for sustenance. And at the end of the day, that's one of the strategic rivers that we have in our country. Farmers are utilizing that water. So what are we saying about the products that are being produced, irrigated by the Vaal River? And this is the situation that we faced up with now, because almost all the local municipalities under Gertsibande, the district municipality, they are subject of an investigation. As we're talking now, Msukaligwa is part of that investigation. The docket should be in court very soon. Governmeki has been convicted. Lekwa has been convicted. We are finalizing now a case against the Dipaliseng local municipality, which means everyone in that space is perpetuating this crime. And it's painful to talk about it and just to talk from a perspective of government, and you're talking about there's a sphere of government or spheres of government that are actually dropping the ball. I'm sorry to say this, but it's just the way it is.
Maanda, Alidzulwi, sir, for speaking the truth to us today. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it. Maanda Alidzulwi is an inspector for the Green Scorpions.